What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. Love the show. What do you think about the NFL implementing a mercy rule? Mostly to prevent unnecessary injuries in a game that's basically over. Like the game is over as soon as the team is up 30 in the second half. Teams would keep their foot on the gas to end the game rather than coast for 30 minutes, and a ton of injuries would be prevented. I hear what you're saying, but here's the problem. The NFL's business is predicated on television. And these networks, CBS, ABC Monday night, which was 30-7 at halftime, Fox, Amazon Prime, have spent a lot of money on this inventory. And I mean a lot of money. And in a couple years, it's going to cost a lot more. Well, the only way to make your money back is to utilize that entire, at the end of the day, like whether the game's good or bad, you kind of know if a game kicks off at 10 in the morning for us Pacific Standard Time, you know the game's going to end, give or take, at 1 o'clock. So that network knows I have 3 hours, and I have a pretty good idea when the breaks are, the TV timeouts, the quarters, the halftime, to implement sell my advertising, which everyone wants to be associated with football, to make my money back and turn a profit. So listen, we're all very invested and emotional about the sport and the game. That's why I got into the business originally. But this is all a business. And the way it's all paid for is that would never in a million years be allowed. Ever. Because listen, sometimes when I'm doing these live shows on especially Thursday or Monday Night Football, I'll be on the 3 and Out text chain with the boys, and I'll be like, God, I wish this thing could end at halftime. But I'm just saying that knowing that that's never going to happen. Ever. Hey, John, after tonight's ass kicking, I feel pretty good about the Pats' ability to wrap up the division and contend for the number 1 seed. Going forward, they should try and trade for Brock Bowers. May gets his Gronk, and we don't need to worry about the offense. Spend the rest of that draft improving the defense. What are your thoughts? I think Raiders fans would just, if they lost Crosby and Brock Bowers in an offseason, I wouldn't blame any Raider fan if you just quit. I do think Max Crosby will be traded this offseason. But I think here's the thing for Brock Bowers. He is in his second year, so next year he will need a contract extension after next year. And he's been a little banged up this year. I mean, if I'm the Raiders, I'm not giving you it. I can't trade. I did it with Khalil Mack. I can't do it with this guy. So even for me to entertain it, if I was willing, the price would be outrageous. Like 3 ones. It's like you couldn't trade 3 ones for Brock Bowers. Right? I mean, part of what made the Pats so good for so long, do you know why the Chiefs extended their run? You got to make trades the other way. It's on you to hit on draft picks, right? Because that's how you build a team for sustaining success. They're much cheaper, right? It's pretty rare. Like, here's the thing with Bowers. Now, you could argue that tight ends are a lot cheaper, and they are, but doesn't that kind of play into the Raiders? Why don't we just keep the guy then? So my take would be, obviously, you're not going to just find a Brock Bowers every year, but look at what you've done from a skill position standpoint this year in player acquisition. Travion Henderson. I mean, over the last month, every other carry you see, you're like, damn, this guy looks sweet. Kyle Williams, the wide receiver from Washington State, had a nice catch last night. I mean, he can fly. Even the Diggs acquisition in the offseason. I feel pretty good if I'm them. Let's just keep investing. Why can't we use our first round pick this year on a skill guy, on an impact skill guy? Because the trade for Brock Bowers, if they were even willing to entertain it, I mean, to me, I wouldn't give him away for more than for less than 2 1s, 2 2s, and 2 3. I mean, it'd be outrageous. When a coach gets fired midseason, like Dayball or Brian Kelly, do you think they still tune into each game that their former team plays in? That's a great question. I've never been a coach fired in the middle of the season, so I can't speak to that. I have been fired, though. And I do think your natural inclination when you're invested into something, and I would imagine this goes for relationships too, you pay attention, right? There is doesn't mean I don't, you're watching every snap, but like think about when you're invested into something, especially in a position like that, you probably follow the things on social media. People are telling you a lot about them. You would still have people that care and like you in those buildings talking to you about things that are messed up. So I think you're still kind of invested. I mean, Brian Kelly's kid plays for LSU. And I'm sure many of you saw that viral video of his son saying, "Free my boy BK." I was thinking, if I ever called my dad BK or I ever called my dad my boy, I probably would have got backhanded. I'm like, what is wrong with this kid? It was a very uncomfortable thing to watch. And I get it was, you know, his dad couldn't be there for senior night. Now, I think this guy was like the last player in the roster, but free my boy BK. Like everything I've seen of Brian Kelly, that's not how he communicates. I mean, I'm fascinated by that relationship. Brian Kelly's kid and Brian Kelly. That thing's got to be a weird one. I bet Dayball paid attention because you're also how they're doing reflects you, right? Like when I got fired from radio, I wanted my time slot to go belly up. Turned out it did, but I was rooting against it heavily. And you'd hate listen sometimes in the car. Definitely when I got fired from the Eagles, I just knew a lot of people with the organization, so I kind of just felt like I kept talking to people. It didn't really change. So I think you naturally stalk a little bit, right? She dumps you, you're going to see who she's dating on Instagram. We're human beings. Like I don't care. Insulate the noise. Don't let the outside distractions. All that shit sounds great. We're all kind of wired the same. On the topic of Lane, what are your thoughts on him going after the young podcaster who accurately described him as a hoe? Never mind that he immediately proved the guy right by leaving Ole Miss in flames less than 24 hours later. Flames 24. Shouldn't someone in his position be able to take the shot? Neither guy looked great. Not that it's really your MO, but how would you handle if someone you shit on in a podcast were to step to you at a football game? When you talk for a living, and I've said this forever when people get mad at me, you know, I've had a couple occasions where guys in the NFL get mad at me. And I say, the difference between me and you, like everything I say is public, right? My opinions are all how I make my living. You have all similar opinions on different stuff, but you never say any of them publicly. So we're both have similar takes on certain things, yet everyone knows mine. So you're talking shit left and right about half the people you work with and work around and play against, but you never say that publicly. And then when you leak stuff to the press, you say anonymous GM. Like there's nothing anonymous about anything I've said for a decade now. So it's like I get it. It comes with the territory. You're gonna piss some people off, but like part of like I've always thought the media can be a bunch of softies. They give it very well. They don't take it very well. Part of giving it, like if your guy wants to give it back to you in that position for that kid, and I actually saw that he's like 40 years old. It's crazy in the South. Sometimes a guy can look 38, or I mean, look 22, and he's 38 because of that haircut. But what was he gonna do? He just kind of stood there. Sometimes you can let the guy yell at you. It's part of the deal. Like what? Who cares? What's Lane gonna do? Hit him in the face? The guy was right. He used an analogy that is correct. And I think he even said that Lane called him later that night and apologized and then sent him a meme of a hoe hat. I think part of it, I wonder if Lane was trying to show everybody that he was like going to stand up for himself. Like, I think actually that had less to do with that guy's hoe as a housewife comment than it did about Lane's insecurity about the whole situation. And ultimately, I don't think Lane cares at all. I truly don't. If you're Lane right now, think how many enemies and people you would need to do that to over the last like 4 days. Like you wouldn't even be able to keep up with it. And once you start, he makes $12 million. Who cares what any of these people say? But like, yeah, if you are gonna quote unquote talk some shit, you got to take it. And what's guy gets mad at you? Like, okay, it's life. It's not that big a deal. I truly believe this. Lane doesn't care that much at all about that comment. I mean, truly. Because, like you said, the guy was proven right. I'd even argue this. Most coaches, like, they're nomadic by nature. They're not exactly the settle down type. I don't think we will see many Nick Sabans and Dabo Sweeneys anymore. Kirby might be the last of his kind because he went to Georgia. It's the best program. He could probably stay there for 25 years. Is Kirby Smart more likely to be coaching there in 10 years? So he would have been there 20 years or be coaching somewhere else. I also think the elephant in the room now in the profession, 10, 20, 30 years ago, the money has changed so dramatically. It is such a grind to do that job. If you can continue doing that, especially in college, and have $100 million in the bank, you are an all-time football addict. Are we going to see some of these guys just get burnt out, in their mid-50s because they're like, I've been making $15 million for the last 5 years. I was already a millionaire before I signed that contract. I just need a year off. I think we're going to see some of that more and more with the amount of money that's getting thrown around. Lane's still trying to prove himself, right? I don't think Lane's, you could argue, I heard Reese Davis and Pete Thamel and Dan Wetzel talking about this. Like, Google Lane's biggest wins of his life. It's like Georgia last year in a season that was 9-3, so it actually didn't mean that much. He knocked Oregon out of the playoffs in like 2011. He won at Oklahoma this year, which pretty good win, though Mateer has not been good since he hurt his hand. It's like he doesn't have that many, Kirby Smart's won a couple championships. So if in like 3 years, Kirby's like, I'm burnt out, I just need a break. And I even think George would be like, I'll take the year off. You can come back when you're ready. That's the other thing about college football. It's like Georgia 100% would tell Kirby, like, take a year off. We'll just have a replacement for an interim for a year, and you can come back. Can't make a whole housewife. Most of these coaches, they get bored. I mean, Bill Parcells coached like 7 different teams. It's like part of the profession. It's not a normal industry at all. Even players. Like, look at the majority. Most players aren't 2-team guys their entire career. Most players play for like 3 or 4 teams. Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook for whenever you're in Florida. It's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado. Coming soon to more states, too. Sign up today and you could win $150 in bonus bets. Just place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you not only get your winnings, but you also get $150 in extra bonus bets. Plus, Hard Rock Bet offers new promos daily, plus big legendary reward drops every single Thursday. It's like gifts under the tree. So whenever you're listening, just open the app up and check out what you've got waiting for you. Download the Hard Rock Bet now and make your first deposit. Love the show. Question for the mailbag. Colin on the show Sunday said he likes the head coach and the GM and the roster for the Cleveland Browns. Question: what is there to like? They lose every week. They aren't competitive most games. Why does Stefanski and Barry get so much credit for never having done anything? They drafted a tiny quarterback in round 3. I'm sorry, you don't get the benefit of the doubt for that decision. Yeah, man, I'm with you. They do have good players, right? This draft class looks good. They do have some interesting players on the roster. To me, the franchise is a complete joke. It is just always the same shit over and over and over again. The drafting of the 2 quarterbacks is pretty embarrassing. Let's be real. Drafting Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round is one of the crazier draft picks in recent memory. It really is. Like the Kenny Pickett's and Mac Jones, guys going in the top 20 that historically would have been 3rd round picks. Like that was insane. Now, granted, that was in the peak of quarterback inflation. Like if you have to admit how much you paid for, a car or a house a couple years ago, it's like, hey, man, it's peak inflation. It's like, yeah, man, cost of doing business, right? But this year, Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, and then back it up with Shador a couple rounds. It makes no sense. It's like there's no rhyme or reason to anything they do. It's like, well, we got Mason Graham and Quinshon Junkins. It's like, yeah, I like those players. But you don't have any quarterback. You have this guy that's going to go for 25 sacks on a 4-win team. I think the whole thing is one of the most overrated operations in the league. My stance for a long time is they get a little bit of a pass because they're just two highly educated guys from Ivy League schools, and the media kind of sees versions of themselves in highly educated people. So they go, these are us. It's like, yeah, that is you. That's what you guys would look like if you were coaching and running a team. 4 wins every year. Great. These other meatheads are winning 12. Hey, John, I'm going to need to talk to your guys in San Francisco and investigate what Jauan Jennings is saying to guys when they're on the ground. My wife, who follows like 1,049,er pages, asked me the other day, she's like, what is he saying? I'm like, I don't know. What could you possibly say to piss people off that much? I mean, it's the nature of the sport. Crazy. I hate the word inappropriate. Something's inappropriate to you that's not inappropriate to me. But things that make people uncomfortable are said all the time in locker rooms, let alone on the field. So for Jauan, like Shelby Harris, like when you just watch Shelby Harris's rant, you're like, I kind of felt Shelby Harris. But it's like I need some. Can you give me the evidence? Like I need to hear some of the words. Like what is he saying? Is he doing investigative research before the game so he knows what to bring up? I saw John Lynch today on local radio in the Bay Area compare Jauan Jennings to their Draymond Green. So it's he's clearly pisses some people off. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You probably have to ask like McCaffrey. Okay, a couple more questions. More of a comment than a question that I'd love your thoughts on as we wake up this morning. The top two seeds in the AFC, in the top seat in the NFC, all have quarterbacks from last year's draft. Is more of their ability in year 2 or 3 to have an elite coaching now and put in the right position? It goes to show you how quickly a franchise can turn around with the right coach. It does give you a lot more flexibility financially. So having Caleb Williams making $6-7 million gives you a lot more wiggle room than these other guys making $50 and $60 million. There is no disputing that. Having Bo Nix's contract allows them to be much more aggressive, and partly because they have a bunch of dead money from previous bad contracts. And obviously Drake May this year, they spent a bunch of money. I think as much as obviously, Vrabel and Ben Johnson have been awesome, but when you have Drake May or Caleb Williams contract, you can trade for a star left guard. You can, pay for a center. You can just do stuff that gives you more wiggle room. I saw today the Steelers cut Darius Slay. Like they don't have that much wiggle room. So when you give Darius Slay 1 year, $10 million, and his cap hit is $10 million, and you give him a $9 million signing bonus, like that's a pretty big contract. Like you can do a lot for $9 million. You can get a starter, maybe two, out there on the open market. So when you do that, and then by Thanksgiving he's a healthy scratch, and by December he's cut, that's an awful allocation of resources. Where when you have the wiggle room with the quarterback contract, like you can miss on a player or two because you just have more room to deal with the cap. So I think the cap manipulation with the quarterback contract is a massive variable that comes into play for the Bears and the Patriots, who are very aggressive this offseason. Is McDermott underrated? That'd be Sean McDermott. He dominated the Steelers with the run game and defense. Yes, the Steelers aren't good, but he seems to dominate almost every AFC opponent except, one of the greatest football dynasties of all time. And he beats them a lot in the regular season. I was thinking this the other day, like he wins a lot of games and gets, Coward does this, puts him right there with Tomlin. Like the Bills were in the AFC Championship game last year. They beat the Ravens. They just happened to lose to the Chiefs. They lost to the Chiefs 2 years ago. Like it's the only team they can't beat in the playoffs. They're beating all the other teams. This year, I'm rooting for the Bills. I hope they go on a little bit of a run. But like he's won a lot of playoff games these last 3 or 4 years. He just can't beat Kansas City. I think he's lost to him 4 or 5 years, and the other year to the Bengals, who did house him. That was an embarrassing loss. But like he's lost to the Chiefs. I like comparing, to Tomlin, who hasn't won a playoff game in a decade. I do think Sean takes a lot of crap. I actually think the GM has let him down. Now, Sean has a big hand in personnel, but their personnel operation has been a little hit or miss. If they were better on personnel, I think they would they would have made a Super Bowl by now. But their personnel department has let them down, which he's probably playing a big role. Let me tell you about my friends, my partners, and the official ticketing app of this podcast, Game Time. Do you want to go to an NFL game? If you do, I got you covered. They have tickets to every single event. Even if you want to go to a concert, a comedy show, you name it, they got you covered. They have football tickets as low as $100. There are no added fees, so the price you see when you type in, okay, I'm going to go to the Niners Seahawks game. I'm going to go to the Cowboys Commander game. You type in, you see where you want to sit. The price that you see is the price that you will pay it at checkout. There are no added fees. Doesn't get any easier to use. Cannot recommend the app enough. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets, professional football tickets, with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code JOHN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code JOHN for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Anyway, a lot of my fellow 49er fans seem convinced that Saleh is gone as a new head coach, and he deserves it. But I remind them, Spags, who in my opinion, without him, definitely doesn't beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl, has been amazing and has no second head coaching job yet. So why does one seem to be on the radar and the other isn't? I mean, I think a huge element is age. I think if Steve Spagnolo was 52 instead of, my guess is he's 64. Steve Spagnolo 65. I listen, you're not supposed to legally discriminate for age, but he's getting discriminated for age. He's not getting hired at 65. But Robert Saleh is 46 years old. So, I mean, there's a 20-year age gap. I was thinking if Mike Tomlin finally does break up with the Steelers, I saw Albert Breer say today, he's not going to get fired. Even if he's on another team next year, they will not fire him. So let's say he's traded to the Giants. I do think Robert Saleh would kind of feel a little Pittsburgh Steelers. Because you go, well, who are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to hire? Well, who have them been their last two coaches of my life? I can't speak to Chuck Noll a little before my time. Bill Cowher, defensive guy. That Jaw, I think former linebacker in the NFL, he's a defensive guy. Mike Tomlin, defensive guy. I can't picture them hiring like Liam Cohen. Like that's not really their style. Now, you could argue maybe you should. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to hire a defensive guy. Robert Saleh kind of looks like, if you didn't know Robert Saleh was, a middle of the road, like a non-power 4 college football player, you'd be like, I bet that guy played for the Steelers. Like Mike Vrabel. When you say, yeah, Mike Vrabel played for the Steelers, it's believable. Look at him. Even though now he kind of looks like a first baseman that would have played for the Yankees in like 1983. But Robert Saleh looks like he's a former NFL player and specifically played for Pittsburgh and Baltimore, right? So to me, Robert Saleh would make a lot of sense for Pittsburgh, and he would accept that job yesterday. So there is no guarantee that he's going to get hired. I think depending on the options, like if I'm Robert Saleh, would I take the Arizona Cardinals job? I would not. I wouldn't touch that job with a 10-foot pole. But would some of these other, I mean, I just took the Jets job and okay, I got richer, but it sucked. So I do think he's going to want a more stable operation. I think if you're Saleh, you'd be all over the Giants. Are the Giants hiring Robert Saleh? I don't think they can. Embarrassed Falcons fan, it's clear we need to clean house with Tomlin and Harbaugh clearly needing some resets. Should they go for one of them, or do they go in the route of Mike McCarthy, but no first-round pick next year and Penix hurt? I think it's going to be hard. I really do. I mean, I couldn't even begin assuming that everyone gets fired what they do. I mean, their last two coaches have been Raheem had coached there before, so that one made some sense, though they almost hired Belichick. Maybe the owner's mad that he didn't hire Belichick and now hires Belichick, which would still be a little shocking. I had someone kind of make the plea to me about Mike McCarthy. That look at Mike McCarthy. Look at he's been replaced twice, and the team got better both times when he left. And this year specifically, like Jerry nailed that one. Like, yeah, Mike, I'm not going to extend you. I thought Jerry was kind of crazy. Like, I just give him a couple-year extension. Like, I'm not paying this guy anymore. I'm going to go with Brian Schottenheimer. Brian Schottenheimer wins on Thursday. Jerry's going to look like a genius. I'm a Colts fan, and if they don't end up making the playoffs, is Ballard on the hot seat? He traded 2 first-rounders for Sauce Gardner, and now he's hurt. Daniel Jones is hurt, and the offense doesn't look the same. I would say Ballard, if they completely unravel, everything would be on the table, and that would be a disaster. That would be a little like an NBA trade where a guy was on the hot seat, things were going well, quadrupled down for Sauce Gardner, which I thought was pretty insane. And if they were to just start losing a bunch of games, who do they play this week? The Jags, I think. Um, it's up to the Dodgers now. I don't know what their relationship is with them. I'm sure they probably like him, but I would say that he would be in some trouble. Yes. Is that a great job though? You have no first round picks for the next couple years. You would probably start a rebuild and start selling guys off. Watching this train wreck of a Vikings team and Jefferson looks dead inside, do you think it's realistic that Kwesi or KOC are gone after this offseason? I would see no chance that Kevin O'Connell is gone. He would the Steelers would hire an offensive coach then. The Giants would hire him yesterday. He would teams would be lined up to hire Kevin O'Connell. The GM, listen, you guys diehards, and you guys have a great fan base. I haven't done a deep dive on his drafts. I know people are not high on them. Obviously, for all the picks that have missed, the JJ situation is pretty devastating. But in fairness to him, like blood's not just on his hands for that pick. You're not taking JJ McCarthy if Kevin O'Connell's not fully on board as well. So listen, it's hard. You make mistakes. Some mistakes have bigger consequences than others. All of our decisions have consequences, some good, some bad, right? The outcome of what we do when we do it, a lot of times we don't know. And on big decisions like a draft pick, drafting a quarterback in the first round, you're doing that because you have high hopes that this thing is going to work. Like they didn't just keep their fingers crossed. Like we hope. They were pretty confident. But it's a draft. You never know. If I would have told you that how many games they play last year? 17 and now they're 12. So that's 27. So 29 of Bo Nix's 29 games. His team has won 20 of them. No one would have believed that 2 years ago. Now, obviously, the defense is, played a large role in a lot of that action, but still, if JJ McCarthy was the Broncos quarterback, they would not have won 20 or 29 games. We'll end on that one. I appreciate everyone, and we will be back again tomorrow. Keep firing in those DMs at John Middlekauff, and have a great day. Peace.